Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gland Bodybuilding. Mountain. And today I want to dispel the latest myth that's going on social media. And it's usually somebody who is posing as a person who is following the science. And a lot of times they use this word, science, to justify their own bullshit. A lot of times that's really what they're doing. So the latest fad by a few social media guys, and I'm just scroll through TikToks and Instagrams, and then some of these things will pop up from time to time. But I've noticed there's a latest fad of saying if you're doing anything over 8 reps, you're wasting your time in the gym. It's always got to be 6 to 8 and progressive overload and so forth. And if you're doing reps, like if you're repping out for 15 reps, 20 reps, you're wasting your time. Like there's just no point. You know, that's what these guys are saying. So first and foremost, you guys know, if you've been here for a while, that I am a big advocate of using heavy weight from time to time to stimulate the overall system. And I know 100% that this is important for natural bodybuilders. And sometimes heavy weight might be relative. And sometimes only going as heavy as 10 reps to failure is important for certain people. So I'm open to different people having different results from different rep ranges, okay? But you guys know that I do think it's important to challenge yourself with some heavier weights from time to time to stimulate the system from a different pathway. But that does not exclude using higher rep ranges. A lot of you guys who have been here for a while see me regularly do sets of over 15 reps on certain compound exercises, and sometimes up to 30 reps for certain isolation exercises. And I find this works extremely well. Now, the reason why a lot of people argue about this stuff so much is that I think they're missing a couple details that are important to look at. Because I think they're missing a couple variables here when it comes down to what is important for each individual with their training. First is genetic differences between one person to the next. Some people's nervous systems and their muscle fiber ratios are different. So some people will respond better to lower rep ranges or higher rep ranges. And when I talk about higher or lower rep ranges, I mean sets taken to failure. I'm not meaning doing 5 reps with something you could do 50 reps with. So some people respond better to lighter weights, and some people respond better to heavier weights to failure. That's really my point. And I think a lot of these social media guys, especially the younger ones who haven't had a lot of experience besides their own 5 or 10 years in the gym, they have a tendency to look at things very myopically, and then they look for science to support their theory, but they don't look at the overall picture. And what I'm saying is, they're not necessarily taking other people's experiences into account when they make these grandiose claims of stupidity. That's really what I got to say about that. So the other thing these guys aren't taking into account is that there are different fiber types in the muscle, and some fiber types respond better to certain rep ranges than others. Hence the fast twitch fibers and the slow twitch fibers, then the strength endurance fibers as well. So we have a different array of muscular fibers that respond better to different forms of stimulation. And the case in point here is that if you look at certain sports, you will see certain people with muscle mass. Some are in the strength sports and some are in the strength endurance sports. So if you look at speed skaters, they will have great developed quadriceps. If you look at hockey players, they will have great developed quadriceps and good glutes as well. And the point is that they are usually doing sets in their sport that would be classified as strength endurance, not 5 rep sets or so forth. Like the average shift in hockey is anywhere from 35 seconds to a minute long, but that would definitely be above the 6 to 8 rep range when it comes to training, right? If you're out there for a minute or 45 seconds skating, that would probably be equivalent to 15 to 30 reps, depending on the speed or the tempo of the reps that you're doing. So the fact that they gain muscle from this type of activity but they're not doing power exercises is proof that muscle mass accumulates from moderately higher rep ranges than the 6 to 8 rep range. You also see this with cyclists, people who are riding bicycles, people who are racing 10 speeds, the Tour de France and all that kind of stuff. Even the natural guys, okay? If you see somebody that's doing a lot of bicycling under tension, they will put on muscle mass. Maybe not as much as a bodybuilder, but there is some muscle that is accumulated. So in bodybuilding, what we're trying to do is gain muscle from as many different pathways as possible. So I find when you do the heavy weights, you gain the muscle there, and then when you're giving that a break, then you do the higher rep ranges, and then you gain some muscle in that pathway as far as the slow twitch fibers. And when you combine these two strategies together, you get overall more muscle mass. It's not about one or the other so much. It's more about using that synergy to gain the most amount of muscle. And another story that I can share with you on this is that back in the day when my brother and I were squatting, right? We're squatting all the time, doing sets of 10 or 8 reps. And sometimes we do sets of 4 or 5, if we're straining our ass off. And we're doing squats regularly. And then after applying these rep ranges to squats and leg presses regularly, my brother stumbled across a different technique. He would use lighter weight on the leg press, and by using this lighter weight, he would pump up the quadriceps like crazy, doing upwards of 50 reps. So he would go right into this burn. It was like a Tom Platz type of set. And then he would go and do some front squats of 10 to 15 reps using moderately lightweight because his legs were absolutely exhausted at that point. Now, within about 2 weeks to a month, his quadriceps exploded. He put on so much quadricep mass that people were like, what the hell did your brother do to his legs? Like, they're actually kind of gross. They're too big, right? But that's what he did. So it wasn't that heavy weights were wrong. It was that once he started doing some lighter weights strategically and then doing his heavier sets in other workouts, his legs grew faster than if he just did heavy weights alone. So the point is that there's a reason why a lot of old school bodybuilders are doing the higher reps and then doing the lower reps. It's not because they're stupid or unstrategic like some of these supposedly science-based guys are saying. It's actually because they noticed just by trial and error of what was actually working. So don't let these social media guys pull the blinders over your eyes, In the end, do your experiments, find out what's working for you, but don't let them convince you out of it because they have some sort of weird justification or skew on how they're seeing the science and so forth. So to summarize, high reps are good, low reps are good, and it's good to find that sweet spot to take advantage of that synergy for more overall muscle mass. And it really depends on what is your weak link as far as what's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck right now. So yeah, experiment, play around, see what works, and that's how you do it. Mountain. So I hope this helps out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgalandbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now.